We told you not to panic last week, folks. We did say we're only two and a bit games outside the top 8, and we'll just cruise along nicely, jag the win against the Demons, and we're setting the course correct again. So good to be doing a show after a win. And joining me as always is CB17 and Tiger71. Welcome, fellas.
G'day all. Hope everyone's well.
G'day, you beautiful, sexy listeners.
Now, promise to CB, you do no pirate shenanigans, mate. I can't handle it 3 weeks in a row, son.
Sinbad, if you're listening, I'm
no
a little
question.
pissed you didn't send a question.
No
I
question.
told you, Sinbad.
No, he just got feedback, mate. He just got some strong direct messages through Twitter.
Or is it still a ploy that it's still a CB burner account and he's just laid off a week to throw us off the scent, maybe?
Hey.
I still think CB in real life is actually Robert Doyle. That's my conspiracy. I reckon.
Bro, he's on sexual assault charges. That's not cool.
Well, I'm just saying.
That's a stark contrast to the Brad Pitt comparison he gave himself last week. Very good win on the weekend, fellas. We were all fairly confident, I think, that we were going to get over the line. We did feel like, and you said it last week, TIG71, that you felt we'd turned the corner a little bit in the way we were playing, and it's kind of progressed again this week. And while there were still patches where we weren't at our absolute best, and we were probably far from it, to be honest, but we played a lot better for a lot longer in the game, which I think is the most important thing that we can take out from it.
Yeah, no, good point. Like I sort of mentioned 2-3 weeks ago that we were going through a heavy training phase with the running focus, and I think we started to see it kick into gear, the effect it had, the last quarter of last week, but more importantly this week. And that's what pleased me. Look, we're still playing bog average football. Like if we were at 80%, we would have buried Melbourne by 9 goals, and that's not being arrogant. That's, I think, is a fair assessment of the game, because Melbourne just has no forward line. They've got a really good back line. I was impressed with their back line, and their midfield can get the ball, but my God, what they do with it, it's like having a bunch of Hydes and Proctors playing in their side, you know what I mean? Turnover after turnover. So it's a nightmare. Like, I feel for them. But what really pleased me too was in the last quarter we had one fit on the bench, and that fit person was had a corky, Arts I think it was.
Yeah.
And we ran on top of the ground, and we had enough to go that extra gear to make sure we closed the win out. We haven't done that all year. Really excited.
And I suppose CB and I both said the same thing, that as that game wore on, it sort of looked more and more evident that run in the legs was there again, which was really good to see. And CB, you must have been pretty happy with the win. Your boy Arts, you called for him for a couple of weeks. He's come in and had a really good game.
I tell you what, I had a good pre-game call, didn't I? The value of 2 rucks and bringing in Jake the Snake Arts, hey? If I know nothing else, I knew... He was, can I just say, I know we're going to touch on him as well, like watching a guy like Arts and Lambert, they give me the most pleasure out of all the footballers, because you just know how hard they have worked to get their opportunity in the big leagues. And I'm so happy for Craig Lambert. I'm so happy for Lambo.
That's a throwback.
Yeah, I'm so happy for Lambo to get those 100 games, because you just know he's busted his ass. And then to see Arts, a childhood Tiger supporter, live the dream and not just get out there and play, but he played bloody well, and he provided exactly what I wanted to see from a small forward of Richmond at the moment. He was head over it. He was hard. He was skillful. Absolutely outstanding debut.
Yeah, and his repeat efforts as well. Like he just wasn't giving up at the contest. Sorry, I've just been interrupted by an inbox message on Twitter, and I'm not even joking, from Sinbad. Not even joking.
Oh, you salty dog.
Oh, wow. You can't script that. But yes, Arts. Yeah, I loved his game. He might be similar to Rioli in the sense that he might be good for 8 to 15 touches a game, but he was bringing people into the game. He wasn't trying to do anything too fancy. He's got a good sidestep on him, but he was just tough as nails, and that hunger and excitement was exactly what we needed for that game.
I'm rapt you said Rioli's name just then, right? Because I know on the TV you really can't see it, and it makes it difficult. From what I've heard, though, and from what I could see with my own eyes on the TV, Rioli's defensive game, he played as a defensive forward. I saw him in the back line. I saw him in the midfield. He people were too harsh on that kid. He's always been a low possession player, and I just go back. He can hurt you if given disrespect. He will kill you on the scoreboard. Just look at the GWS preliminary final where he actually got us into the grand final from his own boot. Again, against every final series, he's always one of those danger forwards, and he copped it this year from a lot of supporters right off him, and I loved his game. I thought, well done. And on the same vein is Caddy. I defended him last week. I was shocked by the amount of venom he was copping. People wanted to drop him. This is a premiership winger. He's been in 2 premierships for our club. He is a smart footballer. You can be out of form, but you don't lose your footy IQ. That's why I'm not worried about Dusty. He's still out of form. He's still working into the season. I've got confirmation he's not injured. People are saying, his ribs are... No, he's not injured. It's just that, like some of the team, or most of the team, their training is built on to peak after the bye, say round 13 and onwards. That's when because they can bank that he can give us an above average performance, and that's all we really need at these short early rounds. So, but yeah, Caddy, he was in the top 5 best players, and people who doubted him really go have a look in the mirror. That's what I would say. Have a look in the mirror.
And can I just chuck another one? I'm going to chuck 2 in there as well. Again, my man Mint Cairns Brody. Outstanding game.
Brody.
Oh, Ben, yeah.
Outstanding. That guy, I thought, I've always said like Caddy was probably our toughest, hardest player, but I reckon Broad's actually got him covered now. Broad is our hardest player. He's amazing with what he does courage-wise and commitment-wise. And the other bloke I'm just going to mention, because he copped a bit of flack, but Camden McIntosh. I know he's a bit of a ball butcher at times, but if you watch that game again and watch how hard he worked in to help our back 6 out, and he was, like, particularly in that first quarter, he was busting his ass, pushing back, helping the defensive unit out, and he was pushing forward. And that's why as the game went on, he racked up a lot more ball because he just massively outworked his opponent and worked his way into the game. And I tell you what, he's doing one thing that about 10 other blokes couldn't do in the first 4 rounds. He's finding the pill and he's getting it. So he will keep getting better with each game. So give him time. He's outperforming. He's in our best 22 right now, Camden McIntosh.
And there's one player I see. I've just given everyone a smack about Caddy, and no one's going to say I don't walk the walk. So I have to apologise to Hawley. I'll not apologise in the sense, but Hawley, his courage, I loved him as a player. I've always said that. It was all really, really clear. But I saw him shirk a few contests, and it started becoming round after round. And I have to give credit to him. He played hard, tough Richmond football on the weekend. He put his head over it. He didn't do that duck one hand up in the air that I call the Brandon Ellis, which he was doing the last 2 to 3 weeks. No, he was. And mate, if you play like that, Hawley, mate, play again next year. That's all I ask. I don't ask you to turn the game for us. I don't care about your turnovers because you do more good supposals than bad ones. But if you keep your head over the ball like that, mate, I'll never question you again. So credit out to him.
I'm just going to say too, behind the scenes, Tiggs might have said that Hawley played like a bloke who's got the next 5 weeks off, so you put in for a change.
Oh, I never said that, but But lads, we're talking about the game. So interesting that our game was the only game officiated with 4 umpires on the ground.
I didn't know that or notice that until you mentioned it to us, but interesting.
Yeah, we were the only, and the reasons why, 100%. I mentioned last podcast that the mail I got is that the club's went really hard at the umpiring department in the AFL on how we've been treated since we've all come back into the game, particularly our defenders.
Yep.
We from what I know is a fact, we presented a whole heap of evidence to that, like showed them so many incidents of how could you miss that. You can once, twice, 3, 4, 5 times, but you can't be 10, 15 times not in the right position. And we really made a big deal about it. I saw it out there. We had 4 umpires. There were still, I think our defenders are still a bit annoyed because we gave away, I think, 250s for abuse, which is, and they're obviously touchy about our complaint with them. But, that made me smile because hopefully going forward now, they know that we're going to not cop it. You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
umpired fairly. Look, there was a few howlers both sides, but overall the game was umpired, I think, quite fairly.
Actually, just speaking of that, can I just say, one of the worst decisions I've seen in years was that. I know we were the beneficiaries of it.
Yeah,
how was that free kick? Petrarca, how stiff is the bloke? That was bullshit. I've got to say, we'll take the goal, fantastic, but mate, you don't want to be seeing that every week. That was a horrific decision.
We had one. I can't remember which player it was, but we had one. We had one very similar to that, and we got pinged on that too. So that's what I mean by we're umpired fairly. They were fairly consistent throughout the game. The one thing I could not believe. I checked it after on our forums. People saying that when Higgins got run down from behind when they called play on. Now I don't reckon Higgins went off his line, right? And I've watched that vision a few times. But let's say he did. For this Melbourne player to be actually tackle him, I timed it. It was 0.93 seconds. Under a second. The guy went 15 metres, because that's the exclusion zone, isn't it? 15 metres?
Yeah, I think it is 10 to 15.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, it's 15 metres. So tell me who can run 15 metres to tag a bloke under a second.
Yeah, I thought he went off his line, if I'm honest. I thought he did make a sideways step and went off his line, but then also thought he got poleaxed in the back.
He did. So pushing back, but he got hit. Yeah. As soon as he went off his line, he got tackled.
The guy was practically standing behind him. Yeah.
So that was a 50 for us. That should have been 50 any day of the week. So, yeah, that was another howler. But look, at the end of the day, they're always going to make howlers, right? But it's just going to be umpired fairly. If you're going to fuck one side, fuck the other side equally. That's all I ask.
Yeah. And it's just, I'm glad you mentioned Higgins as well. How good is it to see him back in good form?
Oh, I love it. He's smart. He's crafty. You talk about work rate before. He works his freaking ass off. And I hope he gets time in the middle. I think he's just hoping to get that crack to have time in the middle. I reckon, there's going to be a benefit not having, I don't want to say benefit, I'd love to have Preston and Costigan there, but we're going to have a really good fresh dynamic in that midfield mix. That's going to bleed into our wingers. Our half forwards will look different because I reckon half forwards will rotate through the midfield. And it's going to really challenge defences that are on that particular half forward. What do? Do you go press up? Oh, hold on, they might replace them with a tall. They're going to have to, we've got an opportunity here to really create some havoc if it goes well. If you can break even in the centre and get us equal amount of ball, I see us really, really bouncing back with a fair bit of strength.
I'm really excited for this weekend, for the opportunity that's going to happen for a few young blokes. I'm really rapid. And Higgins, it's just so good to see him out there. The fact he's playing great footy is an even bigger bonus. But it's just wonderful to see him out there enjoying himself and contributing like the way he is.
Yeah.
The one player... Oh, you going? Yeah, Lynch,
I just
3 goals,
we're talking about, we're talking about hardness, right? He broke his hand, went back out there and got us 2 goals.
Who's rustling something near their microphone?
That's CB, mate. What are you doing?
You eating a packet of chips or something?
You're an old fart, mate. Your chair, it's not your chair, you pirate shit, and now you're fucking around with your headphones.
That.
The Tigers just doing a tweet.
Sweet.
Oh, so you're not. Actually, that makes me think you're doing something with your hands, CB. It shouldn't be, man.
Just thinking about Higo.
Oh, you're a gun, mate. You're an absolute ledge. But what did you guys think of our passage of ball movement? My opinion was, like I sort of led on a bit earlier, I reckon we did about 40% the Richmond way and 60% was just shit house. But you know what? I'll cop that shit house because we managed to defend the stat. Remember what I told you about defending the turnover? We actually got our defensive mechanisms right more often than not. And that's what's been missing. And then hence we can make those mistakes and generally defend against it. But what did you guys think?
You go, mate.
Okay, I thought, I agree with you. No, it's all right. It was really, really good to see some of that typical Richmond ball movement. And the thing is, against those lower kind of teams, without being disrespectful to Melbourne, if we do that for 40 or 50% of a game, we're probably going to pile on quite a few goals in that time frame. And we were probably a little bit unlucky that we lost the 3 players at the end, and especially Nank as well, to go up against Gawn, even though Troll did a pretty good job. But I feel like we could have piled on a few more had we not lost those players at the end there as well. So it was exciting to see those, that Richmond bit of play back.
See, I reckon I actually saw it as a marked improvement. And for the second time, so for 2 weeks in a row, we've kicked 80 points now. So we've actually fixed offensively. We're fixing things, right? Just looking at the numbers. So our overall, inside 50s, it was 43-39 in Melbourne's favour. Overall match disposal efficiency was 75% Melbourne, 73% Richmond. But then efficiency inside 50, 32.6% for Melbourne, 59% for Richmond. So clearly, maybe, we've obviously fixed that 80 metre out into the 30 metre kick. That clearly had improved in the last 2 weeks. And I thought, I'd say for about 60-70%, it was looking like the old Richmond, truth be known. I thought the back six was outstanding. And we took it on. Like, you look at Noah Balta.
Oh, I love him. Let's talk about Balta after you finish.
He was it was a Rance-like performance from Noah. It was uncanny watching him. It was like watching a young Rancey go about it. And yeah, he turned a few over, right? But at least it was offensive ball movement. It wasn't his sideways bullshit. He was getting it, and he was actually making 100-metre plays, 100-plus metre plays, getting it, running it, kicking it, and kicking long. So I didn't mind the fact that he took the game on and turned it over a bit. But for me, really, really, really promising. And more of that, please, Richmond. And I think we'll see more of that next weekend against the Swans, no doubt.
Yeah, Balta for me, I said it 2 years ago, and I've been harping on it. I see, and I'm not the only one with this opinion, Balta, for me, he's like a colt, and he reminded me so much of Rance. First, he reminded me of Rance with the athletic gift, and also they play on instinct as they learn the game, and that's what Balta was always just running. Every time he got the ball, if you noticed, he would just take off, right? As soon as he got the ball, he would run like he's a midfield or a speedy winger. And that had to get, obviously, trained out of his game. But he's got all the tools to be an upper echelon player. I'm a firm believer of that. But he's got one unique weapon that they don't have. He's got the ability to kick it 100 metres. Like, he can be like a 200-metre player. He could do that burst, a good, 20, 30-metre sprint, and then kick the ball another 60 metres. So I love him. I love that turnover. And there was a turnover he did. He did his beautiful intercept mark. He went into space. He blocked the space, took a beautiful overhead mark. And I just thought, look, his hands are fantastic. And then he hit it. And then he went into his gallop mode, and he tried to do the right thing. He tried to place it in the centre of the ground so we could actually it didn't come off, but what he did, he didn't bow his head, he didn't, sook about it. He just turned around and sprinted into the back line to try to cover his mistake. That, for me, shows me, and his maturity, his maturity is starting to come there, and that's credit to the coaching group. I just want to, and I pray for this, and this is what's invested me back into the season. Knowing these young kids are going to be playing, and I'll watch every single game like I'm there, and I just want to see him locked into the centre-half back. Balta, that's yours. And then Asprey, when you come back, mate, you have to push Balta out. And Balta... No. If you can't put your centre-half back, Balta, we're going to pop you in the wing, but you're playing every 22 game. We need to give this kid games. We just have to. Because I reckon we do...
I'll tell you what's sexy. I'll tell you what I disagree, and I reckon it's sexy.
What?
I reckon when Asprey comes back, he takes full back. Balta stays centre-half back.
Oh,
and Dylan Grimes becomes that lockdown defender again.
Yeah, beautiful.
And he is going to just terrorise dudes like Charlie Cameron, even worse. It's going to be fair. I'm so excited. If we can just get those three, and then you've got Broady, as you switch, Broady's flexible, Shorty's flexible, Hooley, that back six, what a dynamic. All of a sudden, you've got two genuine stoppers in Grimesy and Asprey, and then you've got this lethal weapon in Balta, and that is just so exciting. Pumped.
Yeah. No, he's a jet, but I loved his hands. I didn't notice he had such a great marking ability. I don't know why I really didn't, but some of his marks that he took were just
8
one
marks,
grab, fully
3 contested. He's definitely worked on it. 10 intercepts, but the stat for me that probably surprised me but also impressed me the most, because the big knock on him from a lot of people has been he's not fit enough, hasn't got a tank. There was some bullshit rumours that he'd come back pre-season really unfit. He played 100% game time. So to me, that says he's worked on his tank and he's got the fitness. I mean, I know he could burn out later in the year, but as it stands right now, he's got the tank to go for a whole game, which and the shorter quarters probably help him in that sense.
You know what the biggest stat for me? Sorry, Seb, but you know what the biggest stat for me that makes me super, or I'll use CB's term, that's really sexy to me about Balta, is that normally intercept. One of the main common denominator between intercept defenders is their footy IQ. Howe's got it. The good quality interceptors are smart. They know where the ball's going. Balta had 10 intercepts, right? It means the culture we've got in the club, the backline support that he's got, as he's obviously training in the backline, he's learning from Rance, he's learned from Rance, he's learning from Grimes, he's learning from Ashbury, so on and so forth. He's picking up where the ball's coming, so he managed to get 10 intercepts. That is brilliant, and that is fucking rare, particularly for a guy that height to manage to get 10 intercepts. It's fucking really rare, and I was stoked when I saw that.
The other thing that probably helps that too is credit to the midfield for working a bit harder to make their kicking inside 50 a bit more predictable, which obviously helps Balta do what he had to do.
Yeah.
And there's one more we've got to talk about, guys. The man with the most impressive haircut in the club.
Oh, what is that? I thought literally someone had cracked him on the head. I thought you'd take him off with the blood rule. You're talking about Shoal, aren't you?
Two phones.
I got to say, 2 phones. How good is his left peg? I mean, the guy contests the ruck, then he out sprints Oliver, and then laces out Tom Lynch with a bullet. Like it was just those blokes that come in. But Charlie was. Thank Christ we bought a bloke who could contest the ruck outside of our genuine ruckman, and it gave us what we needed, because in that last quarter when our on-ball division got wiped out through injury, mate, if we didn't have a second ruckman, we were in all sorts of trouble. But Big Mabs, he bloody cracked in there, and it was a really, really good effort in the middle and a good effort around the ground. He looked unreal, Mabs.
It was the around the ground stuff that impressed me. The second and third efforts, the intensity at trying to tackle blokes when we didn't have possession or he didn't take the mark, that's what he'd been lacking, in my opinion, in the last couple of years, those repeat efforts to work defensively. He just kind of stopped, but he's got the pace to do it, but he was pretty ferocious, and I really loved his game. I thought he added some really good X-factor for us.
No, he was good. I love him. Call me old-fashioned, and someone's got to say it. If you're going to do that with your hair, right, like seriously, get runs on the ball. But you know what? Then my wife said to me when we're watching it, she goes, you know what? He's just being himself, and that's what the whole club's about.
100%. They're about expressing yourselves. So,
go for it, Marbs. Go for it. I couldn't do it. I couldn't run. It's like he's got a woman's prophylactic over the top of his head. You know what I mean? That's been used. That's how I see it. He's great. He's great. No, he's absolutely great.
All right, we'll push on. Is there a bloodbath lined up, CB?
I do have a bloodbath lined up, and I'm just going to say this one actually goes out to a guy called Silent Rod, because as of 6 o'clock, I had nothing. Or I was going to give the Channel 7 team a bit of a quick clip. Actually, I will. Before I go on, can I just say how painful it is to listen to the Channel 7 commentary team call Richmond games? It is the stuff of nightmares. I get what Brian's trying to do. He's trying to put a bit of life into the call. But what it comes off as is just a dickhead inside joke amongst him and the 4 mates in the commentary box. And it sounds, it's horrific. It is. I don't think the Melbourne people enjoyed that call. You reckon they would have enjoyed it when they're 5 goals down and some guys crapping on about, they're coming back, they've picked 2 out of the... Mate, it was just call the fucking game. That's all I ask. If a Melbourne player goes up and takes mark of the year, shit on, call it. Tell us how great it is. But don't go just doing, it just drives me wild. Call the game. That's all I'm asking as a viewer. Please. I don't care if it's Richmond. Just call the frigging game. Right? Now, that's a little mini rant over. Now, my bloodbath, Silent Rod, this one's for you. Eddie McGuire.
Eddie, what a fucking hypocrite.
Yep. Eddie, you've lost the plot. I'm the first to acknowledge you've been great for football, and have helped progress the game. However, you're hopelessly compromised. And Steelside Bottom's recent error of judgment has once again exposed that. Only a few weeks ago, you were calling for transparency over the unfortunate Jack Stevens situation and suggesting it was an AFL integrity matter. Then on Footy Classified, you were calling for a $100,000 fine and a full-year ban for anyone breaching the COVID guidelines set by the AFL because, as you know, we're $500 million in the hole. Then enter a man with a genuine porn star name, Steelside Bottom. You were proud of the way he conducted himself in the aftermath. Steel, you said, just had a bad night and referred to the incident as the old-fashioned, was asleep on the couch and got up to go to the bathroom and walked out the wrong door.
Yeah, I do that all the time.
Eddie,
like, fuck me, all the time.
Eddie, the dude was pissed and half naked. I'm tipping he hadn't gone to bed at all. Your club then released a statement claiming the suspension was excessive and inconsistent. But for the good of the game, it was necessary to end the matter. Geez, what a guy Steele is and what a club you guys are. Facts are, while we laughed at the Saints going off the rails, Collingwood was just as bad. There's been more than one sexual assault allegation at your club in the last 10 years. You had Didak and the Bikies, the Rat Pack, to go in his lies with a busted hand, etc., etc. I could go on. And I haven't even mentioned your own personal gaffes in recent times on the radio about King Kong, etc. Ed, the world has got smarter and your PR spin from 1998 isn't going to cut it anymore. It's time to make your call. You're either the president of the Collingwood Footy Club or you're a media performer. But you can't be both. Not anymore.
And I think, surprisingly, a lot of Collingwood people will probably share that same opinion, to be honest. I think they're getting a bit sick of it as well because they're just made to look like idiots.
And also, for someone who likes to go, before COVID, obviously, go out, have a drink with the mates and might sleep over a mate's place, I have never once, and I've been mightily drunk. I was 4 years Army, mightily smashed. But I've never been that smashed to go out, to go have a piss and then find myself outside the front door of someone's house.
Not that you can remember, anyway.
No, never. That doesn't wash with me. That doesn't.
I'm going to run the old man in here. I heard the story when I was a young fella. The old man, he got smashed one night, and he all of a sudden half an hour everyone's going, "Oh, geez, where's old Razor?" And they went looking for him. They found him asleep face down in the strawberry patch, half naked. It happens. Big shout out to Dad.
Yeah, no. But, yeah. Oh, can I just say something, guys? Because we're shocking because we've missed it, right? And the whole game review, and I want to stop us getting beaten up on Twitter. We haven't spoken about Kane Lambert, right? He's 100 games in his game. You know, what did he do? 26 disposals. I haven't got his stats in front of me, but I'm looking at a movement map. This guy was forward, back, midfield, stellar game. Bravo, Kane. I hope you get another 100, mate.
And to kick 3 goals as well. Like, he just thoroughly deserved it.
He's like I said, it gives me so much pleasure to see him play well. He's one of the most satisfying things I see on a football field. And I'm just, again, can't speak highly enough of him. Now, hey, can I introduce the next segment?
Is the one that we plugged last week to get people getting in touch with us? Yeah, go on.
No, that one before it. And now it's time for Media Flogs with Tiggs.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you, CB. Well, first of all, look, also, I was going to do a pirate accent then, but I don't know how to do it. I sound like an Indian. I don't know why. There were so many candidates. It's like as soon as we've announced this is going to be a segment, you've got so many of these superstars, inverted commas, all, saying the most stupidest things. And it was really hard to just, narrow down the field to one. Are you
tweeting again, CB?
No.
There was a late charger to get my number one spot, but unfortunately failed was Tim Sausage or whatever his name is.
Tim Gossage from West. If the listeners haven't been on, if you're on Twitter, check out Tim Gossage's tweet on Sunday night about how it's all over for Richmond.
Yeah, it's all done and dusted. But I think Kane Cornes must have read his Twitter page, and he went balls in this morning. He's basically determined that it's impossible, ladies and gentlemen, just absolutely impossible for us to win the flag this year because of our injuries, because we're not going to be playing at the MCG, and because of our form. And what amazes me by that statement is he's talking about it. And also, let's put this clear, which made me go right off the edge. He's tipped Port as more likely to win the flag than us. Now, let's look at a few things. We've won 2 out of the last 3 flags. Right? So we just talk modern history, which is the form line of the team. And if CB, please fix your headset, man, because I'm gonna do some violence.
I'm not doing nothing. I'm not doing nothing.
You're fiddling, man. You're fiddling. It's ruining my vibe, man. You're ruining my vibe. You know how hard I work for this? I've researched this, and I've
He's written notes.
I did. Look, you can hear the paper.
Like a statue.
Can you hear the paper?
Like a statue.
I got notes. Now, here we go. So, back on track. God, you try to soar like an eagle and you're surrounded by galahs. But let's get back on point. So, yeah. All right, let's look at Port. When is the last time they played a final? They've beaten up on all the worst 3 sides so far this year. And when they got to play a side that obviously play in the finals and rightly make the top 4, they got smacked. Yet he tips them over us. And I'm trying to ignore that. I'm trying to be professionals, ladies and gentlemen. You can hear that clicking sound. But, yeah, so I just want to put this out to him, right? Well, first of all, yes, we've got injuries. But our VFL team, I think, has lost 5 games in 3 years. So the quality of our kids is second to none. We've also got premiership players can slot right back in. So, yes, those injuries, I don't want to undersell them. But we're one of the rare clubs that actually can feel like for like. So that's one big thing. The other big thing, too, is that we thrive on crowds. Guess what? Now we've got crowds. We also, he talks about the MCG and our dominance there. Let's look at our dominance in Queensland. I think we've lost 1 game, and that was in Cairns, in 10 years.
Yeah, we've been pretty good there.
We've been better than good, mate. I think the last 8 years we haven't lost a game there or something, 7 years or something like that. And we've played there a fair few times, I think 10 or 11 times. So, our form there is really strong, and we get to play against neutrals there as well. So, we win next week. We have a good win next week, and the teams we need to lose. We could be in the top 4. But to Kane Cornes, it's impossible for us to make it. You know what's also great, ladies and gentlemen? It's like CB mentioned it off air before. It's very similar to what happened last year. We've got injuries all this time. Last year we had the same thing. We get in a bit of a winning burst, so if we can win, go into the by round 12, if we can win more games than we lose, we'll come back and we'll be right in the 8. We might not be top 4, but then we've got all of our gun players back. And then we're going to have a few games at the MCG. Why? Because we just come back from a hub, and we're owed them.
That's assuming that as a state we haven't shit the bed again.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. Wash your hands. Do it for Richmond. Wash your hands. Social distance. Let's keep it down. But I blame the Collingwood and Carlton supporters, just to be honest with you. They're the ones spreading it all. But seriously, we can really just rectify the season really quickly. I'm in a way now happy this season's gone the way it is, because I reckon it's going to make us even stronger next year, because we'll find players that are actually going to force their way into the 22 that are young and they're going to be with us for the next 8 to 10 years. So that's the end of the media. So Kane Cornes, you're a flog. Also, I do have a bit of trade rumours, but I'll do that at the end of the thing. And it's pretty recent rumour that I don't know if it's going to kick on fairly soon, but I'll share it with you guys. CB and Michael don't even know. I just finished. I got the text back, and he wants me to. He's okay for me to go with it. So we'll see. All right,
that's good to hear. We'll move on to listener questions. Now, the one that came through from Sinbad, I should have read this out earlier because it coincided with the Noah Balta theme. But Sinbad wanted to ask Tigercast if you heard any truth of the rumour that apparently the Balta had been or is speaking to the Pies. This was generated from a different forum, not BigFooty. But yeah, have you heard anything surrounding that?
Hey, Mahati.
Jesus Christ.
How was that? Sinbad, I do want to let you down, brother. I do want to let you down. Look, I'd say bullshit. I do know last year or the year before last, they did ask a question with him, and I think he re-signed with us or re-extended with us. So I haven't heard anything recently that he's going to the Pies. I know he's really happy with where he's at with the club. He knows we've made it clear that this is the education that we're putting through, so when he hits in the senior side, he will succeed. And he believes that. So I doubt that. He's safe as houses in my opinion.
Very good.
To stay at Richmond.
All right, CB, this one's from The Tail, who's very good at tagging us into stuff, by the way. Thanks for your hard work out there.
He loves it.
Have you guys noticed a salt inflation in the last 36 hours?
Oh, The Tail. Hello, mate. Let me tell you. It just on with the media, just sort of ties in with the media flog segment. I want you just to embrace it. Absolutely. Because now our obituaries are now getting written at the end of round 5.
Yeah.
And it's mind-blowing, right? So apparently nothing pisses off the footy public more than Richmond winning. I want you to embrace it. I want all Richmond just embrace it. Suck it all in. Because I tell you, they're going to be positively headless. If we go to the hub and win 3 out of 5 games, they are going to be positively headless. And you watch them react when 2019 repeats itself, and all of a sudden we get Edwards, Cooley, Nankervis, all those guys back into the team, and then we get a run at the MCG. I'm telling you, you can almost script this shit, right? So enjoy it, embrace it. Don't even bite back. Just embrace it. Say, yeah, mate, you're right. We're dead and buried. And then just smash them between the eyes when we get the chance. That's what I'd suggest.
Oh, yeah. I'll tell you what, though. I'm going to be smacking in the corner. If we get into the preliminary final and win it, back into a grand final, I'm going to just, mate, I'll go to SEN. I don't even know where it is. Swan Street, Richmond, I think. I'll drive there, mate. I'll drive there with we'll do it on behalf of the podcast. We'll do, see if you come with me, mate. You get the phone so you can record it. And
broadcast live from the front of SEN.
Throw tomatoes and bananas. That's what we'll do.
All right, the next one's for you, Tiger71 from Rhett Weeks. What young kids do you think will be staying home from this hub situation?
Oh, mate, good question. I hope it's not Naish. Did Naish fly?
Well, there's been a lot of sort of chatter about who went and who didn't go. So from what I've been able to piece together from various social medias and forums, all that kind of stuff, it sounds like that everyone's gone. Like, it sounds like that Bolton went, Stack went, because there was a bit of sort of speculation that no one had really seen him. Naish was there. It sounds like it's just maybe the guys who were injured who are staying back potentially.
Yeah,
I haven't. I mean, the club hasn't released a list yet, but I haven't heard anyone else of note in terms of who would be a potential inclusion to our team that's not going. So that's good news.
Garthwaite, did he go?
Yeah, he's there. Yep.
He's there, yeah, because we've got to. So the thing is that we've got to protect in case anyone gets injured while we've got the injured. So we need, like, we've got Balta. Let's say, knock on wood, something happens to him or another tall defender. We've got to have another tall defender to be able to slot in. So to answer your question, Rhett, you've got to factor in that as well. The kids that would stay at home with the kids that aren't ready, either physically or mentally, or just not, their games are not up to speed. And who would those be? I'm not sure because I haven't seen the VFL this year. Normally, I like to watch I like to go to VFL games, and I haven't had an opportunity to do so. So yeah, your guess would be better, as good as mine. Because I did notice that Eagle Moss Smith was on the bus.
Yeah, he was there.
Oh, yeah, he was there too, off half back. So surprised. I wonder who they are, and I wouldn't be surprised if it's some. I don't know. Is it some of our rookies? I'm not sure.
Maybe. It's the only thing I can think of, because even RCD's been confirmed to have been on the plane and the bus as well. So I just feel like we've taken the whole lot over. Like you said, especially now with these fresh injuries, and obviously with Basher and Edwards staying home, we need all the manpower there we can get in case of. We can't run short and potentially run out of players, especially if you're there for 4 rounds or 5 rounds, whatever it might be.
Yeah, and Dale's definitely there too, isn't he?
Yep.
Yeah, great.
I've got a question without notice, guys. So we're going up into these hubs. Are we now able to train fully as a full squad?
I believe so. The only thing I don't think we can do, like, they can't leave the premise or the hotel, whatever you want to call it, they're on. I think for the first 14 days, they've got to treat it like proper quarantine, so they can't, nick off to the theme parks or whatever. But they can train as a team, I believe, like normal.
Which is great. Which is exactly
that's why they're sending everyone up there, then, isn't it? It's for the first time ever, we can get everyone on a track and get everyone on the same page.
And I think and that's why Dimmer and all the boys are looking forward to it, because what we've had to do down here is so against what they've been doing the last few years and why they've been so close. I think Nick Loston said somewhere that usually after the captain's run each Friday, they'd go to this local cafe, all of them, the whole team, and just sit there and talk for hours, but they haven't been able to do it. And while it's something small, it's something that obviously kept that connection, that bond together they've not been able to do. So hopefully going up to the Queensland hub will be able to reignite things like that.
Yep.
All right, the next question for CB17 from Catriona, if I've said that right. With Presti and Nank and Cochin out, that sounds awful saying that, doesn't it? Who should take their place in the centre square bounces? Good luck.
Well, here's the sexy part. I mean, pardon me. How do you pick it? I mean, if Lynch is out for a week, I think Lynch is 50-50, right? So he's flying up there. They're going to monitor him during the week. But let's assume that we've got 6 out. Lynch is out as well. Do we actually see the zombie in CCJ and Soldo come in? So CCJ could play full forward, which means you're going to have Charlie and Soldo as your 2 rucks, just like we played Nank and Charlie. That could be your ruck division. But then also, if you look at the spread in the midfield, I'm thinking that Pickett, Stack, Graham, and Ross come in. There's 4 ins, right? All those guys can play midfield. So all of a sudden, there's 4 blokes in there, which increases the midfield rotations. I think our midfield rotations could be off the planet this weekend. With Caddy could be in there, I reckon. They'll put a big body in there at certain times. Lambo's going to go through there at certain times. It could be like Higgins. He can play in there at times. Bolton will come in, I think. So there's another bloke. You can have up to like 9 blokes potentially rotating through the centre square bounces, depending on the matchups, which is just absolutely insane when you think about it. So your guess is as good as mine, but I would just say good luck to Sydney trying to plan for our midfield this weekend, because I think we've got some surprises coming their way.
Yeah, I think that's a fair assessment. Kane and Stefan, your questions about who's going to be coming in, or who do we think might come in, and a question about Eggleston Smith, we'll probably answer in the preview side of things. So the last one is for you, Tigercast71 from Ash Clover. Can you see CCJ getting a game soon? I feel like he would make a positive impact in the best 22, being a ruck/forward. I'm also worried if he doesn't get enough game time, he may leave, which was speculated last year, I might add.
Yeah. Look, I'm with you, Ash. Look, I know we had the forward more that they were really after, because he was in the same position CCJ now finds himself in. He wasn't getting all the opportunities he could. But the difference between the two is CCJ actually has talent. I mean to be disrespectful to all. But he had talent, Callum, but he was not a top-tier talent that I rate CCJ. He's a kid still. He's got a man's body, though. He's tall. He could be our very next, Brendan Gale, someone that can dominate in the ruck and actually go forward or go back and take that clunking mark. Are the club stiffing for him? You bet they are. I know North, again, has been one linked for him. But he's just not ready yet tank-wise. From everything that I've heard, that's what's holding him back. He blows up in the ones. And it's something he's working extra hard on to get his tank, get his aerobic capability, because a forward can't just stay in the forward line. We saw last week, we haven't had Lynch running right up to the wings and then running all the way back. So, look, I hope so. I hope he gets a crack. I still got a feeling from what I got told this afternoon that Lynch most likely will play play next week, because if they put a plate in, you can't break it anymore. It's like when Richo went in with a fractured cheekbone. Bone breaks from where it's broken. They don't injure. If you do the appropriate, coverings and stuff, they'll heal on their own. So I reckon he'll still play. But I hope he gets a crack. Look, I hope he gets a crack. I hope what our club has done is looked at all of our kids, brought them all in the room and said, okay, work on the training track. The ones on form on the training track are first going to be picked based on position. After that, we'll rotate you guys. So everyone gets a crack. And we make it sort of like a bit of a carnival type atmosphere for them. So CCJ actually gets a go. But I'm worried too. I know he loves it at the club though. That's our biggest weapon. All the players there want to stay. So it would have to take like a Brandon Ellis monster offer to prime loose, I would think, or getting a couple of premierships and then getting a monster offer. So we'll see.
I reckon he'll get games this year. I reckon he'll be part of a rotation. Well, now that Nank's out for a little bit, I reckon they might even alternate him and Soldo every couple of weeks so we don't burn Soldo out. And I feel like he has to play though just to keep him hungry. You don't want him to get the shits up that he's not getting a game because he thinks he's ready, and fair play to him that he's confident in his own ability. But yeah, we've got to make sure it's the right time as well for us.
Well, they've had a look at Soldo, so they might go, you know what, CCJ, you're up first. So CCJ versus Chol, and CCJ plays as a ruck, that moves forward.
And I said this sort of off air, that this week is almost the week to do it if you're going to, because Sydney don't have a known ruckman in. They've got Alir rucking, and I've no idea who their second ruck is, but the Sydney supporters aren't overly thrilled with their ruck situation due to injuries. So if there was a time to trial it, not that you want to be testing stuff when we still need to win games, but this would be almost the time to do it.
And their backline's not that tall either. So we could really freaking stretch them. You could put CCJ in the ruck to run forward after the ruck contest to really try to stretch that defence. And we've got, we'll have one. We've got two mobile tours in Lynch and Rewalt, because Lynch's aerobic capability is off the roof. And then you have the traditional forward in CCJ when he's down there. And then you've got your crummers around them. So it could definitely work. It could really cause them headaches, but proviso if we win the ball in the centre.
Yeah, exactly. I'll thank you to the listeners for all your questions. Much appreciated. We'll do the same thing again next week. Push on. We kind of started to do a mini preview of the game versus the Swans, but we've got the Swannies this week up at the Gabba, which is we'll call it our second home for now. For what it's worth, I think this hub thing's going to be great for us, like we kind of touched on before. But the Swans got smacked last week by the Eagles, and just from everything I've been reading, the Swans fans aren't really confident with their team at the moment, and there's already talk of they should just be playing youngsters just to get through the season and reload from next year. So I think it sounds like their injuries are a little bit worse off than what we are at the moment, which is amazing. But, when you still got people like Parker and Kennedy in the midfield, I still feel like they can cause us some issues, especially with Cochrane and Prestia missing. How do you see this one panning out, CB, and do we have to pay any special attention to those two guys?
Oh, and Heaney.
Heaney up forward, playing the solo hand up forward, so he's got a great leap on him.
Grimes has to take out Heaney. You have to lock him down. But I just think with what I actually watched both games, with what I saw of our back six, I'm very confident we can cover them. And if Richmond people didn't watch it, Alir, their best backman, actually had to ruck against Nick Nat on the weekend. So I think based on that, we will go with Soldo, a very big unit again. Alir's going to have to try and jump over the top of him, which really stretches their defence. Yeah, I agree with you, Tiggs. I agree with you, Tiggs, in that I think Lynch will play. I think he will. So I've only got 5 ins coming in for the match. But if you look at last week's stats, so disposal efficiency for the Swannies actually wasn't too bad. They were running at 75% versus the Eagles at 72%. But again, their efficiency inside 50 was at 47% versus the Eagles at 53%. And they got absolutely murdered in the hit-outs, 46-10. And they got butchered in the clearances, 36-22. And centre clearances, 13-7. And stoppage clearances, 23-15. So they got belted around the ball last week, Sydney. Absolutely belted. And I think Richmond will be looking to exploit this. We'll be looking to exploit the same thing, even though we're down, obviously, our best midfielder in Prestia and obviously our spiritual leader in Koch. I think the ins we've got. Now, someone was saying that Marlon Pickett was trialled on a half back line on the weekend and went okay. So Marlon actually may come in to replace Woolley on the half back line, believe it or not. But I think we've got enough depth through our midfield rotations. I mean, Florence, a very good player for Sydney. He's quite a skilled player. We've got the usual suspects in their defence. They've got Rampy, but he's really a bit undersized because I don't see, if Alir's in the ruck, I don't see who can take out Lynch because Lynch could be the problem with his height and his mobility. Honestly, I sound really cocky. I can't see where they're going to get us. I can't see it. And,
it's going to be tough for them.
Yeah. But like I said, they've got 2 good mids, but I think we've got more options through the midfield than they have. And I think that's our advantage still.
They've got Tapley up forward as well, who can be dangerous. So I imagine Grimes or Vlosten will probably guard him.
he's in really good form too, actually, Papley. He's kicking goals. Him and Heaney are the two.
The biggest issue that I've got with Sydney, and you mentioned with Elia, because what it does, it robs their defence, the defensive running. Like if you have a look, they only got 30 inside 50s, which is really freaking low, right? And they got one running bounce throughout the whole entire game. So, but they shared the ball a lot more than what they normally do. I think with their uncontested possession, actually, here we go, 184 uncontested possessions, which is a lot, which is more than West Coast. So, I think what they're trying to slow the game down because they know they don't have the run. If they can get the quick clearance, they're great. They'll go ahead and do that. But if they can't, they try to play the fat side or in the SCG as fat as you can get. But they try to play the wing and then safe football. And that's what they have to play at the moment. So if we be brave, we go at them hard, we be daring, we'll smash them. And I don't want to sound arrogant, but I can't see because they've got their defence. If their defence starts to leak, their defence is too chronically weakened. And if they try to put Elia back in there, then who else is going to do the ruck? And it's going to throw their dynamic completely out. I reckon we'll dominate the ruck. I reckon we'll dominate possession of the ball, first possession. And they'll just play this defensive, try to make it stoppage game for as long as they possibly can and hope they can play into the shortened quarters. But I see us, I don't, unless we have a shocker, if Richmond from 2 weeks ago shows up and we turn it over and don't protect the turnover, we'll be done. But I don't see it happening.
No, I don't see us going back. I don't see us going backwards now. I think we've got a little bit of momentum with us. We're establishing how we want to. In the last 2 weeks, even against St Kilda, we could see it. Even though we got done, we could see what we were trying to achieve. And then we did a little bit better again against Melbourne. And probably copying the Swans at a good time. I think we'll do it a bit more again. I think around the ground, you're right. Actually, I'll tell you the other bloke we to watch is Nick Blakey. He's playing quite well too. Young key forward. He's gloving a few. He's someone we actually have to pay a bit of respect to. But I think Balta will probably take Blakey. And hopefully that'll be a really, really good head-to-head match, that. Two young blokes going right at it. But,
okay, so the $1 million question, the selection issues. We'll go through them one by one. So Nankervis is out. Who's coming in?
I say CCJ.
I say Soldo.
I reckon I would like to see CCJ, but I think they'll go the safe path and Soldo.
Hope they don't.
Prestia coming out. Who's coming in that inside mid type role?
Graham.
Yeah, I think Graham will be an auto inclusion. Cochin out. Who comes in?
Ross.
I actually go a little bit different. Not Ross. I would put Caddy in to replace.
No, but we're talking ins and outs, though, mate. We're not talking. We're talking ins and outs.
Yeah, I know. Okay, so I reckon, or I'll rephrase it then, Mr. Right on point pants.
I'm just playing by the rules, bro.
Well, technically not. I'm staying within the rules if you let me finish. I reckon we're going to replace Cochin with Caddy and we're going to bring in Pickett to cover Caddy's spot on the wing.
I think Pickett comes in for Hooley.
On the half-back line, okay. Who have you got coming in for Hooley?
I got Naish coming in for Hooley.
I reckon Egmalesi Smith is a sneaky chance. The games he played for us at half-back, I thought he looked really settled at home.
He did, didn't he? Yeah, he did. But I just think Naish has better upside. But, that's just me. That's from me saying both of them.
It sounds like as well that Naish has probably got more runs on the board this year. He's had a few good games in the scratch matches, I think.
Yeah.
Edwards out. Who comes in?
Bolton.
Bolton's got to be in here. Yeah, put him in.
Yeah, I think Bolton comes in.
You're all over the place, CB. Sure, you're right, mate. You're all over.
We've agreed on most, and then, but I just think they're going to go. I think we'll be not conservative, but I think we're going to go with what we know.
Yeah.
And who's played senior footy so far this year. That's why I think it's going to be Stack, Pickett, Graham, Ross. Those blokes are going to come in because they've already had that go at the intensity level. So
all I want to say about that, though, is I want to see those guys show hunger and that same intent that we were getting from Arts, Balta and Troll. That kind of thing is what brought the team up, I reckon. Their excitement. Yeah. They know they're playing for their spots. So they put in every minute of every contest. And I sometimes felt in the last couple of weeks, some of these players who were dropped were kind of playing... they were just playing it safe. They were a bit sort of just, I'm settled here, I'm good. But yeah, they just need to play a bit more on the edge, I think. And the other player who's bashing down the door, he may not get in this week, but that Thompson Dow is still killing it in these scratch matches.
Yeah.
He's named in the best again. So interesting to see whether they try and slot him in at some stage too.
I wouldn't be surprised if he gets in a wing. Everyone's locking in Pickett. Everyone's locked as obviously the grand final. I don't think so. I actually think, if they show a bit of flair, like what you said with the kids, how they lifted the energy level, they might put a Thomas now and just let him run. Just go, okay, we're just going to let you play on the wing and just go for it, son. Show us what you can do. And I think he'll thrive on that. He's a decent size, this kid.
Sorry to interrupt, just going back a step. What was the go? There was a little bit of talk about Shai Bolton and why he got dropped. Obviously, the rumour, because people couldn't understand the decision on the how and the why. The less sinister version I've heard is he was put back in the reserves to learn a role in the midfield, do a little bit more time in the midfield. Is that? That's
what I heard. That's why I said he wasn't dropped.
Yeah.
He basically taken out of the seniors, not because of form, taken out of seniors to redo his role.
Just like Caddy last year.
That's right. So.
Do you think this is because they already knew that Edwards wasn't going to be coming?
Yeah, because the baby was going to drop, because she's heavily pregnant. She could drop at any time. That's why I sort of said, no, he was not dropped. Drop to means is if your form's not there, you get dropped to regain that form. Yeah, but I know people going on because of his defensive aspects and all that. When you get a player like Bolton, you get him for his X factor and how he creates. He makes things happen. That's what he's there in the forward line to try to help spark it. I don't think forward's his natural position. I think it's half forward wing is his natural position where he can float in, get into the centre, use his natural run, use his natural creativity. That's what we used him late last year for. How many times do you see him, get a 1-2 on the wing and do that beautiful long kick that he's got? So, I think he was just getting retrained into a role, and we'll see it come. When are we playing? Sunday? I think it is. Sunday? Yep. Yeah. Yep. Let's see with the fucking Sunday games, please, with the premiers. Come on, you fucking AFL corrupt wankers. We're the premiers.
I don't mind it. Look, Sunday's okay because we're flying up today. It gives us a bit more time to settle in. That's okay.
But it's just a lack
gives Lynch an extra day to get his hand right.
Yeah.
So I'm all for it.
Yeah, true. Yeah, true, I suppose. But no, I reckon everyone writing us off is going to get a rude awakening. I think they've woken the beast because one thing I did see was anger with the guys. And for me, what I mean by anger is they needed to prove a point. And what was fantastic is when they sang the song, they said, fuck you to AFL, and they linked arms because we're Richmond. This is what we do. And it was good to see that. I think we've turned the corner 100%.
How good was Brody dropping that guy at halftime?
Oh. And you know what worried me about that? If I was a Melbourne supporter, no one flew the flag. Nobody said
I thought it was going to be an all-in brawl.
I did too. Yeah.
It's crazy times. Yeah, crazy times.
All right. So what's?
I just want to put a happy thought out there too. So Jake Lever's on 800,000 a year, and Stephen May say on 800,000. So that's 1.6 million between them. Those two blokes alone are worth 4 Richmond defenders.
How good was it when Lever watched Tom Lynch mark the ball uncontested, then cracked it at the bloke who was already on Rewalt?
Can I give Cochin a really good a bit of credit here? When he did his hammy, people were thinking, he might stay in Melbourne and rehab in Melbourne. I reckon that would have been an option for him, particularly with his young kids. I reckon he's taken his family, and if you're a parent, that's a huge inconvenience, right, because they're going to be quarantined. He's done it because he loves the club and loves the players, and he's the leader. If anyone ever questions his leadership, because I reckon he'll be coaching on the sidelines. Reckon he'll be right into everything that they do, just to make sure he keeps energy levels and stuff. Yep. And so credit to our captain. People were starting to look at him. His on-field performance was great, but his off-field, and they go too quickly at him. What he's done going on that plane with his kids speaks volume of himself as a leader.
And I just want to say, Koch, if you're listening, mate, you need to fix those greys in the side of your hair. You get a bit grey, a bit of a silver fox.
No, leave it, mate. Leave it. That's what I do, mate. Run natural.
He's got a beautiful quiff going on. He's got this magnificent Lego hair. Yeah. He just needs to put a bit of colour in you.
CB, well, we know you love the colour, mate. Like you run with your aubergine fucking style. But, some of us black-headed dudes, we love a bit of grey. Just natural. Love it for who we are. That's about Richmond, who we are.
All right, what are our tips and margins for this week? I'm scared to hear what this is going to turn into. CB, go on.
You know what? I'm not even going to worry about the margin. Right now.
Oh, on the fence, CB. on the ball.
No. Look. You people out there, right?
He's gunshot people.
I'm just saying, for the Tigers right now, it's just important we get the win. So what? I don't care if we win by 2 points.
He's had media training
points.
During the week.
No, what is? I am ashamed for you, CB, and I know Sinbad will be freaking crushed.
All right. I see the Tigers. I see the Tigers by 30 points.
Good man.
And Tigerc71, what are you going with?
Mate, as long as we get the win, I don't care about the score.
Oh,
yeah, you son of a bitch.
I'm joking. Look, I see us in this game here getting around about 36 points. I reckon we're going to probably start a little bit slow as the kids, if we bring in a lot of kids, get used to it all, make a few turnovers, and then we'll click into gear. It's funny with the younger side when watching Hardwick, as we started, becoming a really good side. You notice sometimes our first quarters, it took that quarter time for Hardwick to reinforce the message for them to kick on, and I think we'll see a bit of that on this weekend. But yeah, we'll win comfortably.
The only thing that could stop us winning comfortably is if those pricks from Sydney do the traditional flood and they park the bus and have about 50 blokes behind the ball. That's the only, that's my only one fear I've got with this game is they're going to sit a shitload of guys behind the ball and just flood. That's what I think.
If they do that, we win. So we get the win that we need. But, yeah, if they play it on its merits, we'll win by 30, I reckon.
I reckon Tigers by 27. So,
man,
before we finish up, what was your trade rumour you got, Tiggs?
Yeah, funny enough. Now, I don't know if you remember this, Michaels, but I mentioned a contested ball winner from a Melbourne-based club. There was rumours about Melbourne because they had a lot of contested ball. I don't know if you recall this about a year or two ago. Anyway, I got a mate of mine that said to me, hey, remember I told you, I don't know, I might not have said anything, but the rumour mill's starting to smoke around that we might be into a Melbourne midfielder because they're too vanilla. Now, I don't know if it's because Oliver had a bad game or they've got players that are stagnating there. Just watch this space because the guy that told me this, he's got instinct. He's pretty good. I haven't had it confirmed yet. I don't think but I wouldn't be surprised. His instinct, I wouldn't be surprised. His text, actually, I'll read it. Okay. Okay. I'm trying to change my name and call him Diggs. Because he likes to call me Big Dick. All right. So that's for the big footy board. Yeah, go stuff yourself. Calling me the opposite of that. Big Dick. Remember the news about Ollie? It might be happening. Watch his face. And that's so he's talking about Oliver. So
right.
But I'm not putting the rock in the house. I just literally got, so I thought I'd just share it. What I've decided to do with this podcast only, I share my unfiltered shit. As long as I got permission, I'll share my unfiltered stuff. So keep listening, people, because they come. Sometimes I get no text, sometimes I'll get texts, and I'll just share it as I did right now at 9:20, and then we might do one where I say, I've had, and I'll follow back on it if it's more confirmed and how it goes. But don't be surprised if Melbourne puts a gun midfielder up for Trey to try to change their mix.
Very interesting. He can't even catch Chol though. Why would we want him?
Oh, he's a good player.
Oh, he'll be perfect for us. We'll fix it. We'll just tell him not to kick. Just fucking handball it. And
just give it the dusty, mate.
Just handball it, man. Just feed it. Just feed it out. Or kick just one direction in that forward line. Just kick to the forward. Don't try to hit a player. Just kick to the forward to space. Because that's what we do. We handball it to space.
True.
Perfect for him.
Oh,
and they need a forward, don't they? They need a forward.
Yeah.
And I reckon when you get little instincts like this, if you've got two teams that are deficient on one end, because we are deficient in the contested possession, but got a wealth of talent in another end, which is our forward line, you can create deals. Things just organically start to happen. So, Richmond recruiters, get on the job.
Watch this space, folks. Oh, thanks for that. All right, Tigerc71 and CB17, thank you so much for your insights again tonight. Thanks for your annoying rustling noise for a whole 1 hour and 4 minutes, CB. That was really kind of you. That's right.
I don't know what the...
So unprofessional.
Wait till you listen back to this. I know you re-listen to the shows. Wait, you'll hear it tomorrow.
Really?
Yeah. Oh, that's all right. We'll work through it.
And you know what he does? You know what he does, Michael? He listens to it and he fucking deletes us out of it. Just listens to his own. He speeds us across.
Plays it to his kids and his family. They listen to me, everyone.
It's a quick 3 minutes over fucking 2 hours of
podcast. Yeah. You know, I can't help it, man. I've got things to say. I've just got things to say. That's how it is.
He just makes up tweets to fucking hear his voice. And I got this tweet. Call me big dick.
Oh, by the way, guys, just wanted to say, just to clarify, that was a trade rumour, not a... I just want to make sure what I just said there with the Oliver News, it's, again, scuttlebutt, right? I'm going to give you all the unfiltered stuff. So just pinch of salt shit. When I actually come with news, trade news, that's different. That's
You'll just put it on his own Twitter and take credit for it, and we'll get a second.
Yeah, just make sure I don't want Melbourne foaming supporters, throwing snowballs at me and all that sort of stuff. And also, too, guys, please, we've got this COVID thing. Don't be like CB. Don't be irresponsible. Wash your hands after the toilet. Social distance, please. All right? Just do that. Just do that. And put a mask on. I know in Australia, for some reason, we don't do it. Don't put a mask on for yourself. Do it for your nonna and nonno. Do it for your grandma and grandpa.
No, fair call. Stay safe, stay healthy, keep clean, and let's get on top of this again so we can try and get back to some sort of normality. But in the meantime, let's enjoy watching the Tigers up in the Queensland hub, and hopefully the boys can kick on and get a few wins on the board and in front of some sort of a crowd. So shout out to all the Queensland listeners, and Dylan Leach up there, he looks after the Queensland supporter base. He'll have his hands full, no doubt, but he'll do a fine job to make sure we can get as many people there as possible.
Mate, let's be honest. We've got more Richmond supporters in Queensland than Queenslanders Brisbane has supporters. Let's just be real.
That's not far from the truth. So I've got no doubt we'll have a fair few there, which will be really good to hear.
Yeah, which is going to be fantastic. It's going to be great. I can't wait for it. 5 in a row, boys and girls.
Can't wait to see Wang and 30 Years of Pain embarrass themselves on national TV again.
Go Tigers.
All right, CB, thanks everyone. Thanks so much for your time. Until next time, go Tigers.
See you, boys.
Thank you for listening to another episode of the Richmond BigFooty Tigercast. Be sure to subscribe to the podcast on iTunes and YouTube so you can follow all the roast and toast, the reviews and previews, and all topics Richmond. Also keep an ear out for our special episodes of interviews with past players. Go Tigers.